Ripping off that tape. Hey, I got my hair done today. So, I wanting to ask about people's experience with the eclipse today, if anyone's around to talk. I was just perusing interesting websites and Facebook pages about information for my garden that I want to do. I've been thinking that it would be really good to do the cotton, like I mentioned in another podcast, how my friend Melissa mentioned that our clothing, the linen, is basically, let's say, a concentrated cotton that comes from the cotton plant. That cotton, I think, is pretty easy to grow. I've seen it growing in Colombia, South America. And how beautiful and cool to learn how to manufacture cotton and maybe learn to make a shirt. It seems extremely overwhelming to think about even how to even begin, where to start on the sewing side. But you know what? There's people in town that know. There's women that know. There's got to be people that know. And until they turn off the internet, which I thought they were going to do today, they didn't. I thought they were. I thought that was all the hype but they did. There was a lot of sirens going on in my town. A lot of like fear-mongering noises. And a lot of chemtrails today. A lot everywhere. When I went horseback riding this morning, and there were 10. I counted 10 triangles my daughter pointed out, and then we went to town and we counted another 13 in the town. So I started pointing it out to people in the bank, in the post office, everywhere. I was like, "Well, you're going to look up at the eclipse. How about those chemical trails? What do you think of those? What do you think? What is that? What is that?" In the bank, I talked to the banker and I said, "Hey, we got to start looking up and asking what is being sprayed on us. We have children, we have land, we have skin. Like, what is this?" And this is a great thing I can say. I was in Barcelona in January of this year, and I saw them in big city Barcelona, which is on the coast, so near water. And this is about, let's just say, maybe a mile inland or less, half a mile inland. In the big city, people walking in the streets, like think of New York with those big intersections, but beautiful weather like today in January, a little bit chillier. And I look up, and it was like 5 or 8 planes making the chemtrails. So someone asked me, "Well, what do you think it is?" And I say, "Watch that video that I posted called Look Up." She says a lot in there, but that's an old video. That's like before COVID. So there's a lot that we now know a lot more. It's confusing. So I went around and I've been hearing about vinegar. Like you can protect your house by doing some kind of walk with intention and sprinkle vinegar. And maybe there's some other process to it, but that's all I needed to just start protecting my house from that. Whatever. It's all going to be okay. I'm totally protected. But I just don't have, I'm just having a hard time understanding why people aren't looking up. And I was hoping maybe the eclipse was maybe a positive psyop to get people to start looking up at the sky. But in my experience today of talking to people on the street, no, people were not looking up that much until I pointed it out. And when I pointed it out, a little bit of sparked interest. But people are tired and they just don't want to think, and I get it. So welcome. How are you? Somebody wrote here. Hello. Oh my goodness. Is this Zach? What an honor. Zach, do you remember meeting me in Las Vegas? I don't know if you're still there. Well, thank you for visiting. Wow. Yeah, so you remember asking in 1994 and people looked at me like it was normal. Okay, I forgot what I was talking about at that. Oh, probably the chemtrails. Right. Okay, so I grew up here on this farm, and I'm waving at this guy riding on a bike. He won't look at me. And I saw them as a kid. Saw them as a kid or like in college. Oh, You're so sweet. And I was like, so I go off to college. I have my life. I've lived in different cities. I've been around, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really see I didn't see chemtrails in New York, but I don't know. I did see the second tower fall in front of my eyes on September 11th. I was on the street. I was on 5th Avenue and 23rd Street, and I saw that second tower fall in front of me. And so I don't want to go into that right now. But in any case, it took me a while to really wake up to the fact that there were no planes. Zach, do you know what? You know what I've been doing? Oh, we went to Cocoa Beach yesterday with my daughter, and I was at a stoplight, and that's NASA land. I was in Cocoa Beach, NASA land. Like, we're on the beach, and there is something in that sand. Zach, there's something in that sand. So this is wild. So my daughter, on the way there, I said, we're going to drop your dad at the airport, and we're going to go to Cocoa Beach. And I was like, I'll go to the closest beach, but I went to college in Orlando at UCF. So I knew that, like, I remember that being the closest. Okay. It was late 80s, early 90s. So my daughter's like, oh, good, I want to go to Cocoa Beach. And I'm just like half listening. Like, we've been so blessed. We were in Panama City Beach. I just recently went to Lake Worth Beach. We've been at the beach in Cartagena. We've been to Tampa, the Clearwater beaches. We've been looking at sand. Mama's been paying attention. But the children really play in the sand. And they put sand on me, and they're like really, really playing. So she says something about the sand there. And I really just, when I think back, I was like so rude. I was like, yeah, I'll get to that. We get to the beach. I bring my bottle. I filled up my Zephyr Hills 5-gallon bottle up to like 3 gallons. I was able to get of salt water. And, all these people on the beach. It was cold. And the kids are in the water, which was awesome. And I made myself get in the water. And I filled it up with my salt water. And then I come back, and my daughter goes, can I put sand on your legs? And I said, yeah, great. So I lay down on the beach. And she starts putting the sand. She goes, Mom, look. And she puts her hand. Okay, so this sand is gray with dark little, looks like shards of metal. But I don't want to say that. But you put your hand in the sand, Zach, and anyone else who's listening, and it like moves strange. The water moves strange, and you feel a vibration. I swear to God, anybody, please go to Cocoa Beach. There's a vibration in that sand, and I don't know if it's good or bad. I really pray that it's good. But being that NASA's right there. So I went and I talked to the lifeguards with my daughter. And I said, hey. And I almost brought some back. But then the sand felt so good that we just laid on the beach. And then we got a pina colada and a margarita that I put salt water in. It was amazing, and she loved it. There was a live band, and so it all worked out nicely. That I didn't bring sand, but it might be a reason to go back. But I talked to the lifeguards, and they said, 2 guys. One was like 18, and the other one was like 22. And the 18-year-old, I said, have you been here long? How long have you been on this beach? And he was like, no, I'm from like North Carolina or something. And the other guy was like, I grew up here. And I said, have you been in the sand yet? And the younger guy goes, people have been telling us this. People have been telling us that he goes, several people have said that. I go, look, I know you guys are busy, and it's no joke. These guys there's a lot of kids there, and that wave is not light. That's a surfing beach. And he listened to me. This kid listened to me, and I said, listen, I just encourage you after your shift. This is my daughter. I said, honey, right? I said, you put your hand in. You didn't feel it so much in the dry sand where the lifeguard thing was, but in the water, you put your hand in, and there was movement, and I swear to you, vibrations, like blah, 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 under my hand. When the water came, and we've been going to beaches, and we spent time in the sand, and she thought she remembered it. The last time we were on Cocoa Beach was in August 2023, and there was a shuttle, was a SpaceX. Like, God keeps putting me in these moments. I was on the beach with a bunch of NASA Globers. My husband and the kids were in the hotel room, and nobody wanted to come with me. And I'm like, okay, we got to look it up. It's the August one. I was like, I can't believe this. I get out there. It's all these, this is a short story. I walk out on the beach, and there's like 6, 7, 8 guys there, and they're all the cameras, and they're all excited, and they're like 18, 19, 20, 25, 28. People are like kind of scattered in groups on the beach, and this is about, I don't know, maybe 1,000, 2,000 people. I own a bar. I'm pretty good at like looking at numbers and of people. And it's a beautiful night, and it's 11 at night, and there's no Wi-Fi. There was no Wi-Fi for like 2 hours on the beach, okay? You couldn't get Wi-Fi anywhere. This is August 2023. You guys would know the launches. I don't follow that stuff. I just was like, okay, I've been watching Globebusters enough that I know that I do not believe we're on a globe. I'm almost ready to debate. I'm getting Mickelson Morley. It's an M, right? I'm more of a listener. I don't really watch the screen much. So anyway, someone correct me. Mickelson, M. Anyway, I'm getting that kind of clear with the perpendicular and the waves and the space and all that stuff. These kids they're all looking over here. They're all like, I go, so where are they going to launch it? Where are they going to launch it? They're like all point, and they're like, it's going to launch right over here. This is where it is, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. So I kind of like dropped some information. I'm like, I don't remember what I said, but anyway, the launch goes off, and it's like the 3, 2, 1, and people are like, telling everybody because there's really not Wi-Fi, so I don't really know how they're getting this information. Oh, they're from their phones, like they have some kind of phone service, but I tried, and I did not have a phone at that time. I already didn't have a phone. So anyway, that goes off, right? Where everybody's looking over here, and it goes off over there. It goes off in a totally different direction. Now, all these people thought it was going to go off at that typical, I think it's called Merritt Island, which is the slither of Cape Canaveral, blah, 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 where supposedly, they're really throwing up freaking helium rockets. I mean, one of the videos that Dave Weiss showed that I finally saw about 8 months ago, I couldn't stop laughing, where it's just like, we're watching a balloon going up, Yeah, okay, thank you, Zach. Like, okay, so I grew up here in this area of Florida, and I am one of those people. I was 14 when we were pulled out of civics class, and the teacher still lives in town. Definitely a liberal, but in any case, I'd love to go talk to her. I love this woman. But we all had to go outside to see that Columbia shuttle. And I listen, I wasn't emotionally destroyed with flat Earth. I was thrilled because I wasn't like an astronaut person, but I wasn't ever into it. But my brother was big time. So I understand the pain that comes with understanding all of this. But I was like, yeah, because I remember on the Columbia launch, I didn't understand why something came apart from it. Like people were like, well, that's the booster, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but then it curved. It curved, and they always curve. So anyway, I know a lot of people have that story, but it's just so important when you have children that you let them express how they see things, because that's what can teach us so much to get out of the cage. That's what I'm learning. That's why I love to be around children and listen to them, not let them, run. I'm not looking to. I just enjoy children. Okay, my brother's coming by on a little train. I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to get off live. I'm just going to take a video.
Look, there's Victoria.
Hello! Hey, baby. Okay. I did not. I saw someone and I tried to wave. Maybe that was him. All right, now my mom's coming by. I gotta go. Look at all these people are out. Like they were terrified for that eclipse. Oh, I gotta talk about the eclipse. I remember when I saw the lunar lander as a child. I asked my dad where I remember you saying this. I can't see because of this. Okay. Yeah, where the real one was. Right? Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Are you talking to somebody?
Yes.
Who?
I'm on a live chat, and someone that I really admire that has an amazing podcast that I met in Nevada is on the, and he's live and he's chatting. Yeah, I don't know if I filmed it well. I just went like that. So, but he's here. So this is a guy I really admire. So anyway, Zach, yeah, and I'm not very, as a woman, I'm not very, I'm not a visual, I'm not, I'm not visually, I'm careful of what visually impresses me. That's the way I want to put it. All right, you guys. Thank you, Zach. Please follow his channel. It's really good. So there's a couple of things I did want to talk about today. That was good. So we got our hair done at this. My friend is a fantastic hairdresser in town, and as we were coming out, we were whatever. A woman said, "Come on, do you want to see the eclipse?" And I'm like, "Okay." So we're in Florida. I understood that there will be no real effect here because the path is not really that close, and I understand the concept of a flat Earth. So, we look up at the sun. It looks normal. I look at the sun a lot. I'm a sun gazer. The girls were with me. My hairdresser was with me, and they're like, "What? Kind of looking." And they're, "Don't look at the sun. It's going to be bad for you." I'm a sun gazer again. So this woman, another hairdresser, goes, "Here, put them up. Put these on." And they were paper, like the 3D glasses when we were kids, like the ones they'd give you at the movies, the paper ones. And I almost thought it was going to be blue and red. I was like, "What is this?" Before I put it on, I go, "What is it?" And she's like, "Look, just look at it. Just look at it." Okay, so it was like thick film, like in the old days, like film in a camera, back when we used to put film in a camera. And it was like double thick. It was like double, and they were thick, the material. I put it on, and it was amazing. It was this black with a crescent moon in it. And I was like, "No way." It was amazing. So I handed it to them. And so I would like you to comment on that if you're still here, Zach, because I don't understand what that is, and I don't have any comment on it except that I've got a lot to really review regarding my magnetism light concept. Because the first thing I thought was like, there's like an activator in there that's an image. Like, did I put it over here? And I was like, I'd like to see those glasses with a light, not the sun. And if that same thing comes up, right? Like, that's the first thing I thought of. But then again, I'm so not, I don't have a cell phone. I have my Polaroid camera. I don't pretend to know much about that. But then back in the salon, someone said somewhere, "Oh yeah, they were giving out glasses on the street. They were giving them away for free." And I was like, "Oh, if they're giving away glasses for free to see the eclipse." Oh, and again, tons of chemtrails everywhere, like actively moving as this is all going on. Chemtrails and sirens everywhere. I live in this really like peaceful, nice town where people have guns, so it's like pretty chill. People know not to fuck around. There's people ready to shoot a gun, right? And in a good way. Like, they don't want to, but if they have to, they're like ready to, and to be the hero. That's the kind of town this is. And so if they were giving out these glasses, they know, there's an operation going on to keep people really, really stupid and dumb. But I do recognize I've got to review if those are legitimate glasses. But if anybody heard anything about those glasses, please let me know. Has anyone else heard about this? Like this whole glasses thing? I have contact lenses on right now, so I'm looking here. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I think it has to do with polarization caused by a strong magnetic field. Okay. But I maintain that that's a man-made magnetic field. Are you there? I maintain that that's what that is. So, and I know that's crazy, sounding, and I'm pretending like I know anything. But I'm just going. First thing, I think you said this in a podcast recently, Zach, about intuition, and that, or no, who was it? Anyway, someone great, maybe Austin. Yeah, maybe it was Austin. Said that like intuition, you may not necessarily know precisely what it is, but you know, like it's a strong, important sentiment. I think that was kind of the idea. And so I've been looking at my intuitions over these last 4 years and how what's my ratio, what's my ratio of getting things close to right. And it's been pretty good. I think I'm like in the 80. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I just mean it for discernment to know if I'm on the right path. And I do that by asking other people who are experts. Like, so today I was talking to the hairdresser. No, who was it? Oh, this wonderful guy. Hope you're listening, Sean. And he said, Victoria, well, I think you've had a lot more time than most of us. And that's absolutely true. But I do want to say that I made that time. I've worked my whole life. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a worker. I had 3 jobs during college. I like to work. I'm a very active person. I enjoy serving. I really like to work. So no one can say that I'm a lazy ass. But in these last 4 years, I have taken a step back and made my work research. So anytime, any free moment I have, you can ask my daughters. If we're not singing and dancing to conspiracy music guru or like music or music that I just really love, that's good Christian. I love gospel and bluegrass. If anybody knows of a bluegrass festival, count on me being there with my children. I love it. I love the banjo. So I love music. Okay. So that, if it's not that, then I am listening to something, reading something physically. I'm always reading something physically, talking to people, and I'm talking to people. I went and talked to the people a man who drills wells. He gave me like 40 minutes of his time. It was amazing, the information I learned. And I think when it's that's right, the intuition. My gardens have suffered so much since they started to have, yeah, well, that's why I'm sitting outside, Zach. If you're referring to like being inside and researching with a computer, like I do think we have to integrate it into life. And I think that we have to integrate it through talking to professionals and people. And then that way, in my personal goal, because it's biblical and I really love the Bible, is to really take seriously you know what? I got to put this view because I'm looking at this gorgeous view. I think the real goal, and you can see the cows. Highlights the sun. Let's see a sun after the eclipse. Are you okay? Are your eyes okay? Look, I don't know. I'm not advising anything to anybody. I'm telling you what I'm doing and what's working for me. And I'm not encouraging my children to do anything outside of the normal. I let my children make their decisions. They're at the age that they can, and what they consume and eat, and how they can read labels with me. And learn with mama what I'm learning as I delve into the nightmare periodic table of elements. This whole is like so much, it's less, like learning flat earth is like, like, because I wasn't into the globe thing, so that was great for me. But this periodic table of elements is super sad because it affects absolutely everyone in every way, from the clothes, from the creams we put on our face, from the shampoo, from the soap we use, from the plastic everywhere, plastic in our, like the food, the plastic bags that are the food, the plastic bottles that have the so-called filtered water. What's the difference between filtered, distilled, and drinking? How about those 3 words? Go to the grocery store. Okay, I did this, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months ago with Publix. They've got filtered, distilled, drinking, and maybe another. Like, it's just sick. And this is so precisely constructed to deceive and confuse and distract with a good image. And so then if it has a good image, you're just like, fuck it, I can't make a decision. Remember we all learned about the thing that if you had, that if you give somebody, you know, instead of 2 or 3 choices and you give them 30 and everybody perceives that as better, but it really just makes you crazy. Like that's what's going on with words. And that's what the English language does in its way by making up new words and definitions. And in other languages that are more phonetic, they do it through, for instance, when I worked in a project with the U.S. government, and it was primarily a law project for expropriation of small farmers' lands and the mapping of the country for New World Order purposes, let's say. When I wrote these quarterly reports that went to Washington into English, and looking at how the language and the Spanish, we had both versions. In the Spanish, the importance of the words we used, and how in Spanish they don't like to repeat the same word. So I'm going to give you an example. This is very important. They say children. Oh gosh, I don't want to give an example. And anyway, it's like if there's a law and you need to say that yellow shirts are not allowed, the 2 words yellow shirts or shirts should be used throughout the law. No yellow shirts are allowed, blah, blah, blah. But instead they start using blouses, tops. They use synonyms, and they think that is prized in the Spanish language as a better skill in writing law than being clear, is the ability to have lots of synonyms. Isn't that evil to confuse? So it's a code. And maybe this is obvious to all of us who've been on the maritime sovereign movement train, but it's still shocking. Okay. I want to see what you said. I tested all kinds of water in a video. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, what's in it? No. Okay. What about this, Zach? What about if who makes the water tests? Who made the PCR test? Who defines the chemicals on the periodic table of elements that we test for in our water? Who has an interest of us continually buying filters? Who has an interest in poisoning us and making us crazy with nomenclature that is absolutely confusing? I think this is the same group. And so I think that the solution is a deeper well, or I have an easier one that I'm psyched about. Oh, what is ridiculous? I'm so sorry. Yeah, about the Colombian, the Spanish. So, 2 Sundays ago, the Sunday before Easter, God, I'm on this water stuff, right? And God put on me to look up about there was a prophet, but I don't know if it was a prophet or personality in an Old Testament book, and I can't remember which one. And I haven't gone and researched where it is, but it's a guy who basically brought the water, like his great feat for God was bringing clean water to his people through a dam, through some kind of as I recall, and again, I read it like once, and I was like, I'm going to get back to this. What's it called in the Greeks and the Romans times when they move the water? Okay, I'm going to get to your comment. But anyway, let's just say an underground stone pipe or of something of some sort that he brought the water in from somewhere else to save the people of the city. Okay. Aqueducts, thank you. So I'm like, this is so cool. to be talking to you. So I looked online and I put in the keywords that I thought would get me there. And I got to Second Book of Kings. I'm going to get it. Second Book of Kings, chapter 2, verses 19 through 22. Take a look at the cattle if you can see them. Oh, look, they're there. And I'm going to go get the book, the Bible. And I'm going to read these 4 verses. It's very relevant. Well, I can't locate my my Schofield Bible, which is, I was just looking at it. I think it might have happened in the car or by my bed. But anyway, I have here a Spanish version. So this will be very exciting to read this. And because I'm going to tell you what I interpreted and in English, how I understood it, and you can look it up. So I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm going to put, this is awesome. I think this is fantastic news. This is the good news of the Bible, people. This is the good news of the Bible. You're going to love this. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I love God and children and natural truth, natural law, which is truth. And so this is why I think this is really cool. And let's see if I remembered it correctly. You know, one thing I really loved about the Bible, but learning when I started reading the Bible in 2021, was how, like really reading it, was how Moses, I think it was Moses. No, I don't know who it was. I don't want to say that. I'm thinking of his brother and how he spoke for him because Moses was evidently, supposedly, not a great public speaker. But in any case, he taught him, where it's said in the Bible, and I can't remember where. So maybe it's with Paul. But basically that when you're speaking of God, you just let it flow. And when you're speaking truth, you just let it flow. You don't have to really rehearse, because if it's the truth, that's how we should be, just like the animals. Just we need to not lie. We have to force ourselves to get in the habit of not lying. The small ones turn into big ones. And that's what this whole last 4 years, last 170 years, 140 years is, right? And they do this. And I think they just like trot out different little strategies every time. I was just thinking about Max Headroom. Remember that? Max Headroom? I was like, what was that? Like, was that an attempt to do early AI on us? Remember? That was weird. That was gross. I didn't like it. I remember I didn't like it. Okay. Let me get to Kings. Reyes. So I have to think in Spanish. There's beautiful Job. Okay. Dos Reyes. That's 2 Kings. Rey means king. Reyes. 2 Kings 2, 19 through 22. Here we go. It's only 4 verses. It's amazing. So I'm going to say it how I understand it, and on my comment of something in Spanish sounds interesting. So the men of the city said to Eliseo. Okay, so Eliseo, I was corrected today by a friend. It's Elijah and Elisha. And I've been saying Elisha. I'm a real southerner. So Elijah and Elisha. This is Elisha. So, and in here in Spanish, it's Eliseo. That's different. So it's probably closer to, the Spanish version is probably closer to the real name. Okay, that's very important. I've learned that. Like James, you know what James is in Spanish? Anybody know? Zach, the word James is Santiago. The King James Version translated the word Santiago or Diego, I think is it. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I learned this a long time ago, and I was like, oh. So the it seems like Santiago's real name in Greek was Diego. So Diego, Santiago, like you can sort of understand that translation to Spanish. Diego, Santiago, like okay. But then to James, like there's so much about that Francis Bacon book. No, I mean the version. That's my point. I love the Bible. I don't want to say anything bad about any books of wisdom that have transformed my life. But I do believe that the King James Version may not be the most pure. Okay, that's what I want to say about that. And that maybe Francis Bacon didn't exist. Maybe Shakespeare didn't exist. Tesla didn't exist. Maybe none of them existed. If you start looking at the names, they're like fog. Like I was looking up the guy who invented the TV screen, and his name is like Farnsworth Longhorn. You know, it's just like, you know, some of these are so funny. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, and the day wasn't dark. There. Oh, you got it. Yeah. Amen. Look, we're all still here. Thank you for the update. Right. Thank you for the update. Okay, so I'm going to read this verse. I'm going to finish reading it. Okay. So this is regarding water, okay? And the importance of having clean water. Okay, so Elisha. So the men of the city said to Elisha, and this city is Jericho, very important city. You heard about Jericho, the walls come tumbling down. I believe that's vibrations, you guys. I think a lot of you already know that, but I think it's vibrations. It has everything to do with the chants, with the horns and vibrations and us being water and all that. And I think there's more to that book. There's more to all these books. There's much more alchemy, chemistry, or information, but I don't even want to use those words. I want to say there's more. Yeah, forget what I said. I believe there's more natural law exposed with natural true elements than the than what version we're given. Okay, that's what I'm saying about the King James Version. All right. Ayaki. Here, this place is where this place, okay, it's weird in Spanish. This is also like that King Jamesy kind of trying to be old Spanish thing. Anyway, but it's just to confuse. Here in this place is where they collected this. Well, okay. Here where this city is sitting, or the location of the city. It's kind of that kind of a thing. Is nice. Like it's a pretty place. It's a good looking place. That's in English. It's different here. In English, it says it's like a beautiful place. And I read a Bible study, and they also kind of interpret it that way. But who knows? Just like you see, my Lord. But the water is bad, and wow. I don't know this word, and I can't see very well right now with these contacts. Oh, and the land is sterile. Okay, in English, it's the water is bad and the land is barren. All right? So what does Elisha do? Okay. And so he said, bring me a small, a new, okay, vasilla, a new bottle. A new verse. In English, it's a kruse, Kruse or Cruse, and I've been wanting to look it up. So in Spanish, it's a vajilla. I know what that is, or a bottle. That's what I think it means, but it's not my first language, Spanish, but I've been living in it. Bring me a bottle and put in it salt. So bring me a new bottle with salt in it. Okay? And they did that. They brought it to him. This is now verse 21. And leaving him at the manantiales, which is the spring of the waters, the water spring. y saliendo él a los manantiales. And as he left the water spring, the spring of the city, he threw the salt in to the spring, and he said, as Jehovah has said, I sane estas aguas. That means I've made these waters healthy. And no habrá más en ellas muerte ni enfermedades. And there will not be any more death nor sickness. And they were healthy, these waters, until today, just as conforming with the word that Elisha had said. Is that amazing? So I went to the spring of my city, of my area, because I learned from Tom Cowan, and I believe this, that there is, and I think I looked up a second resource, or someone else is copying it, but in any case, I learned that there are springs within 30 miles of every human, pretty much, on Earth. And there is one, and it's nearby, and I filled up the water bottle with spring water, and then I put my salt from Colombia, from the 10th largest salt mine, in it, just a little bit. Now remember, the body's, I think neutral is ideal, and that's a number 7 on the pH, which is the number of God. And that's about the salinity of the ocean, I believe, 6 to 7% in general. I know that there's seas that have different salt levels, and maybe that's why they're called seas. Never thought about that. Maybe. So someone told me that they swam in the Dead Sea, and it was like 70% salt water, right? I know. Thank you. Isn't it powerful? So, and I showed my girls, and I've been talking to people. So I called the water department. I talked to the manager of the water department. I've talked to a lot of people about this. Let's see who's calling me. It's a spam risk. So I'm not going to answer that. So, I love the Bible. Everything that I've learned about, everything that what brought me to salt was the Bible, is my point. And I was explaining to someone today, I said, my approach to the Bible when I just started becoming in love with it, my love affair in 2021, I just, in the translations and looking at Spanish and looking at English and all this and just like putting stuff together, because I worked in words. I worked for 6 years in communications for the Obama administration through a federal contractor most of the time, but 2 years within the embassy directly for a deep state agency in communications and public-private partnerships. So I know a little bit about propaganda bullshit. And, oh man. So knowing that, I decided, knowing that I'm pretty good with words and stuff, I just like get into, okay, what is it that I really want to look for, and just look for it. And I got into thinking about, of course, the food. I was like, what is the Bible? Like, let's say that the Bible is 6,000 years. Like, let's just say that, Zach. I don't believe in the timelines. I believe like in resets. And I said that a long time ago, because I came to it because when people were talking about middle age, and I was in my 30s, and I had this breakdown. I was 33 or 32, 33. And I was like, who said it's middle age in my 30s or 50s? Or like, who said we're living to 100? Or who said we're living to 80? Or who said 120? Like, when did that, who set those up? And then that, over the years, just like casually, just thinking about it, when people would mention the Middle Ages, I was like, who the fuck are you? Who made you the one to name them the Middle Ages? So you know the end times, right? So I started like looking at the world in that way. And a lot of this was like after September 11th, when I knew some shit was happening, when we went into Afghanistan Afghanistan and Iraq instead of Yemen and Saudi Arabia, where the so-called, I believe this, terrorists were from. That was my big thing. I was like, I don't understand. How do you connect that? I just couldn't understand. And I was doing real estate. I was just like so happy living in New York, and I thought that reading the New York Times was like the most amazing, noble thing I could do. So I believe their shit. So when I learned about Jason Blair, that guy who wrote the fake news, okay, there was fake news, you guys. Trump was like on it early because there was a guy named Jason Blair. Look him up, Jason Blair. I'd like to, you know what, I'm putting this here, so I'm going to remember to look him up and see how he's doing, because I think I looked him up during COVID, and I was surprised that he was talking about ethics and his own fall from grace. So this guy was a young black guy that the editor, gosh, it's just amazing, the big lies, right? It's so amazing. So this guy was hired by the editor of the New York Times, like 2002, like right after September 11th. And they made him like a super duper journalist. And he was young, and he was like the token black guy. That's what I'm going to say from now. That's what it seems like. But because now I have a friend who works at a very high level at the Wall Street Journal, and she worked there when I met her at least 12 to 14 years, and she'd gotten like a front page article maybe 2 or 3 times, and it was like a huge thing. They have writers everywhere. Like, it's a big deal to get your name. But now maybe they're all just CIA. So we're just gonna like ignore all of this, what I'm talking about, because it's all propaganda. Everything's propaganda, you guys. Everything is propaganda. When I worked at the U.S. Embassy, I would like prepare. I would go and meet the farmers and talk to them, and 5 years later, they're GMOing them. Like, I was utilized in the early stages of selling the ideas, thinking that they were good, and they sold me what I thought was good. But I'm going to say this, and I have to keep saying it over and over. I recognize I can say as much as I want. I didn't know. No. I was too comfortable. I had the title, the job, the ego, the title of the job, the ego fulfilled. I was traveling to Washington, and I went to Brazil, and I was like, got to go on the private little planes to go see the palm oil monoculture. I defended, there's so many things that I'm really ashamed of, but I believe that it's for this moment. And we can't go backwards, and we can't go forwards. All we have is this moment right now, and it's a beautiful one. It's the day of the eclipse, and we all survived. And we're in whatever the time of Aries, like, it's great. Things are going to be good, right? That's what they say. And I think we have to just carry on in speaking truth and forcing ourselves to speak truth and admit when we made a mistake and teach our children not to lie and tell people that we don't put up with liars. Talk straight, because things aren't going to get any better. Things aren't going to get any better unless we change the way we behave in our personal lives. We have to change, and we have to, again, talk to people who are experts in their fields and try to get them to open up a little bit. Like I talked to the well guy about, I think the solution is really deepening my well to get to that good water, but maybe it's just adding salt to our water. And I can defend that. And you can too. If you listen to me for like 8 minutes on my salt stuff, you'll be like, oh my God, that's so obvious. So it's just deciding. It's just deciding to break through, right? Like we did with Flat Earth. I'm going to read this now. Yeah, I believed it too. I know that. Yeah. Yes, it does suck. A lesson many never learn. Like, people don't understand, like the Mark Twain, another one that I think maybe, they're Elon Musks, these people. Maybe they existed, in flesh, but they weren't their ideas. They weren't theirs. They were like Elon. Okay. I didn't know much about him. Again, I'm not into the space. I wasn't into any of that space shit, and I mean it with great respect. But I was a girl, and I was into my stupid shit, whatever that was. And so Elon, when I got the job as the public-private partnership specialist in Colombia, the first ever in the world, which is the fascist communist, let's create totalitarianism specialist. I was like, oh shit, I got to learn what this is. I got to know what this is. So I took a course in Washington that they offered me when I got a job afterwards with Oh man, there's a whole bunch of symbolism. But I learned about PPPs, and I was the only like white person in the class. Everybody there was from African countries that were really great, nice professionals, and we were all learning how to basically create finance mechanisms so that big companies could come in and pretend that they were doing a service for the country, but it was essentially just to keep making money off all of us schleps that believe in these public officials. Like, that's how it works. And that first $1.4 billion that went into Ukraine in 2014, when the New York Times called Ukraine a Nazi government, the New York Times was calling Ukraine a Nazi government in 2014, when the 1.4 billion was passed to them through the agency I worked for and through the public-private partnership mechanism. So that basically is appalling, that with just words written on paper and people convinced without thinking, because their palms are getting, however that phrase is, they're making money somehow through their friend's business that got a donation through it. Like, I was party to all that. I really didn't know, but I will say I didn't know because I didn't pay attention and because I was too comfortable. And God never said, and no one's ever said, I don't think any faith system says that life is supposed to be easy, except maybe the New Age ones that all want to commit suicide. But we think about reincarnation and turning into a cockroach or whatever they think. I've been thinking that reincarnation is having children and grandchildren and great grandchildren, and the ability to convey your survival wisdom. And if you're able to convey that survival wisdom to the next generation, and that lives on, that's reincarnation. But I do believe that we should be accompanying them, and I want to live to 150 years old, and I'm not joking. I'm doing what I can to just get as many poisons, get the toxins out of my life that I can. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting the toxins out of my life that I can, because that's what we can do when we put one foot in front of the other and we don't get overwhelmed. I've got a whole bunch of lovely homeschooling moms that are awesome here, that I know we can do great things, because these women all have different talents and histories, and they're younger than me and brilliant. And then there's great grandmas. There's so much knowledge here. But we have to get people out of the air conditioning, because the air conditioning is another one of their big tactics. Because what does it come from? Yeah, lobbying is evil. But lobbying is kind of illegal. But what they do is they just case it into contracting. Contracting is lobbying. Oh, I can explain all of this. If you think that's interesting to somebody, I can explain how these things work in detail. I worked in contracts and grants. They put me in the 2-day course. It's really bad what I learned and how dumb I was. Oh, it really hurts, because you think you're smart. But I have an excuse also beyond my ego, which is the fluoride. Because I had fluoride in my salt in Colombia, and I also had fluoride in the water. So I was calcified for a long time. I was living there since 2005, and I'm not sure about the New York City water. It may also have fluoride in it. We were told that the Hudson River, blah, 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 I lived there 10 years. I think that water was bad. And but what's so great is the body is in constant, the body, I've learned this from many people and wonderful people that I've mentioned before, that I recommend their channels. The body is in a constant curative state, and I really believe that. My dad was a doctor. I think he believed that too. It's just a matter of knowing what simple actions to take, and not to trust DOCTORS. I don't even know if I can say it anymore. The Medicis. Let's just call them the Medicis, right? That covers it all. Don't trust the Medicis, and get outside and get out of the air conditioning. Try to get away from the screens, or keep them to a minimum. Hey, I just have this like amazing setup here with my Band-Aid on my camera and pieces of tape everywhere. It's falling apart. But I had a big old battery. This is a HP. This is what they were giving out in the schools. This guy was selling for secondhand for $40 in my town. And it's this gigantic, it's this big, whatever. It's a big laptop that the kids use with Google. But there was HP in it. So anyway, I had it like designed for me. I've taken it to Columbia. I've had the guys take a whole bunch of stuff out. I have no passwords. I'm just like bare bones what I want, which is just be able to record and save stuff. And that's about it. And then get online. And that's it. And screenshot. That's it. So that's why these videos are not going to be any high quality or whatever ever, because I don't want to get involved in that. And I've done that. I've built websites with interactive maps on them in 2011, 2009, 2011, 2010, 2009, 2010. Yes. Like I know a lot about this stuff and I don't want to re-enter it because it's a space waster, in the brain. And I don't even like my daughter to put in the navigation in the car because I feel like it's wasting her brain and learning that stuff. But I'm going to give that pleasure to me because I don't want to do it. And she's younger and she knows, which is good. They know that screens are not good for us, but that there are a few good things, which is the connection with whoever is watching this video. Thank you. And for listening and commenting. And yes, I ground daily. I am a big grounder. So this is my 4th step. If you haven't seen my little videos, I have and I'll end with this. It's been so nice to talk. I have a 4th step, which may expand, but for now it's 4 steps. I might add a 5th one. 4 steps to longevity and 4 steps to countering the Medicis. How's that? We'll call them the Medicis. Grounding, walking barefoot about at least, if you can, do 10 minutes a day. Walking barefoot on grass, not in your house. Barefoot. The earth is, we know this, the earth has a charge. That's why electricians can they'll call it grounding when they put their a wire, they have a live wire. They're getting a charge. That's how I see it. Now people see it the reverse, but I think it's coming up from the earth. And then as you're walking barefoot, you are just getting all this good electricity. I do not believe it's electrostatic. I do not believe it's electromagnetic, but I could be wrong with those glasses today, which is like kind of throwing me off, but not really. Because I'm reading Dr. John Dee. And, that's from the 1500s. And it says like on the cover, the metallizing for the human body. So, and it's the essence of the periodic table of elements. So, okay, so walking barefoot. I do sun gazing. I know that that's extreme for a lot of people, but it's really been helping me. It's improved my vision, and you can, although you don't see it because I'm always weird with this stuff, but it's because it's going to get better. I know my eyes are going to improve. They already have. So sun gazing, the retina, you lose weight, your appetite goes down. There's so many good things to it. You don't get burned because I read somewhere, but I'm already dark skinned, but I've seen it with my daughter who's more fair, that the ray of light going into your eye somehow activates something where you don't get burned in some way. So I refuse to use the words vitamin D because I think that that's part of the illusion. How do you extract vitamin D from a sun ray? How do you extract vitamin D from milk? How do you then put that vitamin D in orange juice and fortify things with vitamin D? So is that just basically some kind of a chemical alchemic process over milk that they make and then they sell it among themselves? Like what are the vitamins and what are the supplements? And just thinking that it's really not good. Okay, so the third step is eating pure salt. You can look at my other videos about that. It's an electrolyte. It makes sense. All of the etymology of salt in the words like saliva, salary. My neighbor's coming. I don't really want to stop. I want to finish this, but I want to talk to him if he wants to talk. And finally, not lying. We cannot lie. 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 Do not lie. Tell the truth. Do not lie. All right. I think it's time to go. Thank you so much.